think you should.
Hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of Whoscussion. We're your hosts from Whānau, ThatRandomGuy, the sensually pleasing, audibly pleasing Harriet Skelly.
All of the pleasing. That's how we like it.
All of the pleasing, 24/7. And of course, we've got the magnificent, on fire, the late Crow.
Hello, everybody.
Alrighty, so this week on the panel, because I haven't got TARDIS Wiki up because I'm an idiot, I wanted to do this on top of my brain. We've got New Earth, a new aneurysm. We've got
New cats.
We've got Tooth, new cats. We've got Tooth and
There's a
aneurysm.
new dog.
And a new yeah. This is true. And with coming up with the 8th Doctor's in part B is the Beast of Orlok and the something of the worm.
Hunt of the worm. No, the oral. Yeah, worm stuff. Bugs.
Yeah.
Starship Troopers.
It's
That's what we've got coming up.
Yeah, but a more pleasant Starship Troopers. And waiting for Godot as our last one. Though I've been told it's actually pronounced Godot, but they see Godot in the
story.
So I'm gonna go with Godot.
Yeah, the original player's Godot.
Yeah, so there we go. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry that you're wrong.
Yeah. Sorry that you're wrong. New Earth. I've decided to take this one because it is the greater of two evils.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? It? Do you want to do New Earth?
But you can do it.
It's debatable. All right. So the Doctor's just finished the Christmas special.
Yes.
And Rose is like, "Oh, we finished the Christmas special," and Jackie's like, "Yep," and Mickey's like, "I'm here too," and then Mickey gets a rather passionate kiss, like a really, really passionate kiss, and then she leaves, and I'm just like, Mickey, you need to gap it, like you need to go, bro.
She was like,
you need to do something.
She was all like, "Hey, I want you to continue waiting for me," and he's just like. That's the actual ones that he made. Canon.
Yeah, that's canon. Canonically, what happened in the episode. So, him and Rose and David Tennant's character leave, and they head off in the TARDIS, previously occupied by the Doctor. And
this is Dr. Jamie McCrimmon now, all right?
Yeah, this is Dr. James McCrimmon now. So they head off. They go to the land of CGI, where they sit on a hill overlooking New York.
I think you'll
on
find
New Earth,
overlooking a green screen, but hey, maybe I just got a bad cut.
Yeah, they sure were. And so they're standing on apple grass because it's the Big Apple. Do you guys get it?
Oh.
Do you guys get it? It's the Big Apple. So they're at the Big Apple.
I don't know. I think
I
think apple grass would actually be kind of cool. A grass that kind of smelled like apples. That would actually be sick for something to be made. As much as there's a whole lot of really terrible ideas that went into this, some of them like you kind of like I can understand that actually, especially considering the whole calling it New York. If Americans were in charge of everything, they would call everything new something. That's just what they would do. So it's also fair.
Yeah, well, to be fair, early settlers of New Zealand did the same thing.
Exactly. Well, I guess it's more British settlers than I guess that are the fault.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that if they got somewhere, they would call it absolutely something like that, or liberty, or justice or something.
Oh,
it would be called New Liberty. That's probably what it would be called.
I really want to live on a planet called New Justice. That'd be so good. That'd be so good. And I want it to be that, like, if you map out the continents, it looks like a fist. That'd be
Not
so
scales,
good.
Like Lady Justice. Like,
No. The fist, the hand, the hand of the law.
Not the mask of Judge.
Not the eagle.
No.
I am the Lord.
Oh my God!
Or the eagle.
I am the Lord. Or the eagle. It's just a bald,
Right.
giant
We're
floating
digressing from
bald
this
eagle in
terrible story.
space.
We need to keep going.
Oh, I thought we had finished. We saw Applegrass and left. So the doctor, he got a piece of paper on a psychic paper. It said, "Can you please come to Ward 26A?" And I was like, was that a really nice
I should have
reference?
said 26, but it is kind of a good reference to say, hey, you should go watch this way better season.
What? Hey, was it just
Yeah,
26?
it was just 26.
That's blowing my mind. Why did I see an A? Did I
Because
insert that
you
one?
were trying really hard.
That's crazy because, like, to me, I saw, because you know how it was writing the letters out? To me, I saw 26A. That's crazy. I might need to see somebody about that. I keep seeing better stories where there are none. Oh, I know what it's called. It's called Russell T-itis. It's horrible. Is your accent actually like that? No, you're just hearing it because you got Russell T-itis. And so the doctor decides, hey, look, let's walk over to this hospital. And Rose is like, why did we park all the way over here? And the doctor's like, because it's way easier on the CGI budget if we park here and look at it.
Really not. I'm not sure why that is, actually. It would have been
Let's
way
just
simpler
presume.
for them to, like, just appear in the hospital.
In the
and
hospital?
not have to pay for
I
the
know, right?
CG.
Yeah, but they can't do the love scene. Oh, and I forgot, the Lady Cassandra's there too. And she's like, hey, there's a video of this night that if we actually watch the whole video, it will show that this person that I'm with is going to appear in a specific scene at the end of the story.
Yeah.
So how do we not know the story is already going to play out?
Yeah.
And that's canonically what happened in the episode. They actually said that to each other. And his name was Chip, and he's like, oh, I wonder if I die in the past.
Well, I mean,
my own
we don't
future.
really see the end of the film, but yeah, I guess the film kind
Yeah,
of...
surely she's seen it though,
she's
right?
seen it. Well, you know, I don't know. Doctor's changing time again.
So-
He's just being a butt.
Russell just been like, I don't know how to get myself out of corners.
That's pretty much the story in a nutshell.
yeah. And so he just shouts in a circular room, and that's what he does, and it's pretty great. So the doctor walks in and he's all like, I'm a new man, a new doctor, and then he meets these cat people, and they're like, we're cat people, and I'm like, that's cool, and they're like, we're the indigenous peoples of this planet.
All right.
And when humanity turned up, we became the people who looked after them. And I was like, if you're the indigenous peoples, why did everything become human? Like New York? Wouldn't you guys already have cities?
I guess they didn't.
It's so peculiar to me. And they're advanced scientists as well. So I'm just like, what? Russell, did you think that through?
I have a feeling that maybe he didn't.
Yeah. I'm like, if they're advanced scientists, and we have in a later story we find out some of them are like engineers, then like I just don't get it. What? That they clearly had a civilization established before humanity turned up. So
I have a feeling
why was it?
that they're actually not like a specifically like offshoot. I don't think that they are like an alien race that were there when the humans show up.
But they said they were.
They said they were, but I don't think that is the case. I have a feeling that the reason why it happened like that is because when the humans all went out, like we've heard in the other stories, they went out and bred and did all the, you know, the jack things. They
ask your parents, kids.
They went and bred with cats at some point, I guess, and became this race.
The cheetah. They could have bred with the cheetah people. The master used to rule over.
Could have done that. Or some variety of that, and eventually came to this planet and started setting themselves up as that race. And that's when the other humans arrived and were like, hey, we want to turn this into New Earth. And they were like, oh, well, I guess you're kind of related, so sure, well, whatever.
Cool. And that, guys, is called Harriet Scully fixing things. That's quite a common occurrence, and you just get used to it because he has to a lot.
It's the only way I stay sane when it comes to this sort of shit.
Yeah. So the doctor, he goes to 26 and he gets separated from Rose, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't care about you at all for some reason just then."
Actually, that entire moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually don't care about this human being.
Yeah, and I was just like, "That's interesting. That's great." Okay. And so he disappears, and he's like, "Sweet, 26A." And 26, just 26. I'm just genetically fixing this. I've got a perception filter on the RTT era. And so the doctor's like, don't worry, Moffat makes it completely not canon, but canifies Classic Who.
Yeah.
And that's canonically what he says. And he's like, even though the 50th isn't out for another good 7 years, I knew this was coming. And then he ends up and he finds the face of Bo, and the face of Bo is like, I am the face of Bo. And he fights this guy who's like really, really large. And I'm like, man, people like who know this person should really suggest that like it's the future. Shouldn't there be like super weight loss medication?
Yeah, I wonder about that.
Considering adipose.
Considering later on, they have literal hormone things that they can stick on their necks. You'd kind of imagine that like hunger would not be like a thing anymore. So if you wanted to diet at all, you could just like stick a sticker on your neck that was like, you're fed now. So
exactly.
I don't know. I feel like they just wanted to make a fat joke, and it was really not useful at all to the story.
Which I find really interesting because Russell ain't the slimmest dude.
Yeah. But I was like, maybe it was kind of like, at the same time, I think it may have been like about the hedonist bot as well from Futurama, but I don't think that was out yet, so I don't know. That's kind of what he looks like, is the hedonist bot from Futurama. So
this guy's got petrograde digivolution.
He is turning into a weeping angel, by the way.
So he's turning into stone, and the doctor's like, he's got petrograde digivolution.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, cool, all right. Digivolve to stone guy. Kill me. And that's what was happening to him. And there was this lady who was there, and she was like, have you noticed everyone in New York is British? And the doctor's like, I have
noticed that.
And then she's like, cool. Have you noticed that it's
totally fixing accents?
Have you noticed that it's exactly. Do you know it's 5 billion years in Earth's future and we still wear contemporary Earth clothes? And he's like, yeah, no, Classic Who got around this issue pretty early on. They were like, hey, they live in the future. They're not going to have the same fashion sense as us. But Russell hasn't seen a Classic Who or even Star Trek, apparently. So, like, you know, come on, man. It's the future. He just doesn't know what change.
Sci-Fi even means.
Yeah, he's like, nah, in the future, they wear either contemporary clothes or they're going to wear togas. Why are they going to wear togas? It's just, they're going to do it at some point, right? I'm Russell T. Davies.
Togas. That's it. That's all you got.
So the doctor's like, I don't even know the face of Bo. I met him once. And she's like, some people say he's millions of years old. And the doctor's like, and she's like, but that's impossible. The doctor's like, yeah, I know that he is because in the year 200,000, I saw him on TV. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a real thing that happened last season. Yeah. So for them to be so ominous in the scene makes literally no sense whatsoever.
Well, I mean,
because we as the audience and the doctor know he is billions of years old.
We know that he is, and she doesn't seem to know that. But she also is like, you know, that's impossible. And the doctor's like, lol, I totally know that he's fine for being a billion years old, whatever. And then they even share the same joke later on. And he's like, some say you're a million years old. And he's like, haha, doctor, you're being coy again. Remember that time that we made out? That would be weird now.
And he's like, spoilers. And then River turns up and shoots Rose and then herself. And that's canonically what happens in this episode. So, I mean, I've given up caring where I am in the plot at the moment, but we're at the doctor talking to the face. Then Rose sees Cassandra, and Rose is all like, hey, stuff. And Cassandra's like, you're saying a lot of sci-fi mumbo jumbo. How do you even know that? And she's like, it's literally never going to be brought up again. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. And then transfers into Rose. And then Chip is like, I'm Chip. Because he's there too. And that's what he says. And like, and then Cassandra Rose turns up and she's like, hey, doctor, I'm Cassandra Rose. And the doctor's like, fine, you know that fan service stuff that we were talking about last season? Let's do it now.
Exactly.
And then they kissed. And I was like, this is really stupid and annoying.
It was really, really ridiculous to the point of like, like the immediacy of it as well. Just, I'm going to take my top off and basically, you know where we're going with this.
Yeah. It's a family picture. And so, So the doctor's like, still got it. I'm like, what do you mean still got it? Like, as a character, you're not sexually charged. You're an alien who's above this. You literally have kids because you needed more people on your planet.
Yeah.
Like, that, what? Shut up.
Like,
and then Russell T Davies, he appeared on the screen. He goes, I'm Russell T Davies, and then rubbed the script over his body. And that's canonically what happened in the show. And then him and Rose, they start traveling around, and she's like, hey, you need to do this stuff. And then she says more sci-fi mumbo jumbo. And the doctor looks at her perplexed when she starts doing that. But that completely contradicts what they've set up earlier, where Rose was speaking sci-fi mumbo jumbo. So he's confused that she knows all this stuff, even though earlier they established she knows this sort of stuff now. So that was annoying and really bad writing. And if either of you guys do that, I'll slap you around the head in any of the things that you write.
Yep.
And so the doctor's like, okay, we're inside the secret lab now. And the doctor's like, it's evil. You're creating these things to find cures. And then as a person, I became a grey Jedi at that point, because I was like, well, they're not really people because they can't think, because they weren't taught anything.
The intention was sound, just have some unthinking, brainless material, genetic material, live and die in normal ways that we'd, and probably an even more humane way than what we do to animals now. But as soon as they started actually like talking to people, like that's when you should have been like, oh, we better not do this anymore. That's fair. But we'll get to the scientific inaccuracies that arise from this very shortly.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Boost coffee. So the doctor's like, hey, screw you guys. And then Cassandra's like, hey, I need you as a bargaining chip. And so she sprays him, puts him inside the container. And then Cassandra's like, hey, I won't tell anybody if you pay me heaps of money. And they're like, oh, we're just going to kill you instead. And she's like, I didn't think this plan through whatsoever, which makes no sense since I've been here for 20 plus years. That's been established. So how have I not thought this far ahead?
Like and then she's just like, okay, we're just killing thousands, if not hundreds of sentient life forms, but I'm just going to bribe you.
Yeah. And they're like, this is dumb. You're outnumbered. And then she's like, you're not even armed. And she's like, well, who needs arms when you've got claws? And I was like, that's kind of dumb because those claws are at the end of your arms. And she was like, oh, I'm really sorry, but I have to read Russell's scripts because I'm a paid actress. And she was like, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Sorry about that. And that's canonically what happened in the story. And then Cassandra's like, I don't know why I didn't think this through, because even if they didn't have claws, they've got extremely sharp teeth and they're a feline. They would know how to hunt and kill me. Yeah. So this was a really dumb ploy.
Really awesome. Instead of that terrible pun, or just terrible play on words and just terrible acting in general. If what had happened is if she'd instead of just saying anything, if she'd just gone on all fours and then roared like a lion, that would have been enough, Show.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can't spend our whole lives picking up after RTD.
Well, apparently we can.
Don't think we live long
Yeah,
enough.
because Moffat tried and he thought, you know what, I'll just retcon every single episode of his era.
Anyway.
And I was like, whoa, that's pretty intense.
Yes.
And so he's like, Cassandra's like, sweet, cool, I want to open up these chambers. And the cats are like, why did you do that? Because you've now endangered your own life. And Cassandra's like, legit, I haven't been thinking this whole thing through, even though I've been here for 20 plus years.
I've been planning.
I'm going to go now.
Years, I haven't thought any of it through.
And then Chip's like, I'm Chip, I'm here too. And you're like, thanks for reminding us,
Chip.
Thanks
for giving us this character.
Yeah, and Chip's like, I literally have no discernible character traits whatsoever. I'm Chip. And the doctor's like, Chip! And he's like, hello! And then that's the exchange they have. And they run away, and then Murray goes like, because Murray hasn't learned how to make the show good yet. But trust me, he does, because All the Strange Creatures comes out next season, and that blew me away. And then the doctor's like, Cassandra, he's like, hey, you're not Rose. And then she's like, I know, I'm Cassandra. And he's like, yeah, I know. And then Chip's like, I'm here too. And then they get separated from Chip. And the doctor's like, I literally don't care that you exist. And then he walks away from Chip. And Chip's like, oh, Chip. And then the sitcom audio track played. That Chip. And the doctor and Cassandra are running away. And the doctor's like, hey. Yeah, canon. Doctor's like, hey, I won't save us if you don't get the body. And she's like, that's really, really dumb, because if I die, Rose dies. And the doctor's like, oh.
I don't know.
But he doesn't actually say that
in the story, by the way. That's basically
exactly
what the doctor says at this point.
Because he's like, I'm going to let us both die.
Yeah.
Which means I'm killing Rose anyway, which I'm angry at you for because you're killing Rose by compressing her in her own brain. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And then Russell appears on the screen again. He goes, oh, but Russell T. Davies. And at this point, he's got maple leaves attached to his nipples and he's smothering himself in syrup. He's like, Russell T. Davies. Yep. And then and then Cassandra's like, hey, I'm going to jump between us and hope that this is comedy. And it's not. And then the doctor saves them. And he's like, hey, that stuff from earlier is really dumb. And then Cassandra's like, hey, you think the doctor's sexy, don't you, Rose? And the doctor's like, and then Rose is like, yeah, I do. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. And then David Tennant really tries to act at this scene, and it's not good whatsoever.
He did not know how to do the script because it's not good. I am particularly amazed at the fantastic ability for Cassandra's personality to completely change for every body she jumps into. It's really great. I love it.
Yeah, she's not consistent in all, because when she's inside Rose, she's this like hoity-uppity person, and then when she's inside the doctor, she's all like, oh, this is like a 14-year-old girl, and I'm just like, what?
And then when she's in Chip's just like going all theater, and then when she's in the
Chip's just like, I'm Chip.
Lady, she's just like, I'm disgusted with my entire existence. So
and so. And the infected lady, she's like, I'm here too. And Chip's like, I'm here. And the doctor's like,
here.
Yeah. And then the doctor's like, okay, we're going to cut away to show that the hospital's now in quarantine. And they're like, cool. And then some of the worst performances I've seen on British television happen. Yeah. This wall opens up and this guy walks away from his wife. She's like, help me. And then he just walks back and he looks at her, and we as the audience look at him looking at her, and then she dies. And I'm like, this is a good 5 minutes you could have saved your wife from a horrible, horrible fate. Yeah. And it was some of the stupidest stage direction I've ever seen put to film. Yeah. And I wanted to physically grab my eyes and crush them like grapes. But I couldn't because I need them to be like active.
This goddamn crap.
Yeah. And so it was really bad, and the effects used haven't aged well. And because I'm watching the Blu-ray remasters, I don't think
the effects were good at all, honestly, ever.
Yeah.
I feel like that this trying to put on a medical disease in CGI was not good. It was not.
No, why didn't they use
considering they actually?
It should have been prosthesis.
They used prosthesis for showing the actual, when it's on, but they didn't just do like a time lapse of her getting the makeup put on instead of trying to CG it, because the CG is not good. It's not good. No, and they know it's not good. That's why they didn't use it to try and make the cats.
And oh man, when the cat turned and you could see the actress's real mouth close, oh, that was bad, because the like CGI mouth is still open but her real mouth is closed. That was so bad. And watching it remastered in 1080p, whoa! I wish I didn't do that. I've got this season on DVD. I should have just watched it on DVD, but I didn't.
Poor quality so you could get through it.
Yeah. So I could survive, but I've got, Blu-ray remasters of it, and I Blu-ray remastered my soul into the Netherverse. So that was great. And the doctor's like, I know how to fix this. And it's like, what? Get me every single medicine in here. And then he goes, he says, he looks almost directly at the camera, and he says, I know medicine.
I know it.
And I was just like,
medicine. I'm going to do something.
And I just...
No medicine will do whatever to.
Yeah. No pharmaceutical scientist ever would do this. So he pours all of the medicine into this disinfectant solution.
Yeah.
All right.
This is sterile
And then
liquid.
and then he jumps inside and he says, "Come in here, person." And he's thinking to himself, actually, if any of you touched me, my Time Lord DNA would just stop it from being effective. So I don't know why I was being so scared earlier. But he sprays this one lady, and then she starts touching other people. And I was like, that's not how that works. That isn't how that works. And then he was like, this isn't how it works. And then Russell T Davies, he's now at this point, he's covered himself in like miscellaneous lint and smothered himself in it. He's like, I'm Russell T Davies. And then the doctor goes, hey, Cassandra, you need to hop inside. You need to leave. And then Cassandra goes, I'm going to use Chip. And then Chip goes to the videotape that they were watching from earlier. I don't know why it was so like low quality projection, because it's 5 billion years in the future. Why are they using a projection? Like, why isn't it a holographic video? I'll tell you why. They just spent all the CGI budget on the stupid city and the stupid disease, and they're like, what do we do now? I know, let's set up a 1920s like projector and just have that there. Like, that's a great idea. No one's going to question this. And then Russell T Davies rolled across the screen. Yeah,
yep. And
Russell T Davies, he's like
token on stuff for now. He's gone at this point.
He started talking into every corner in the room, like, how do I get out of this? And he's getting really confused. And the doctor's like, don't worry about him. Don't look at him. All right. Don't give him the attention he wants. And then they use the TARDIS and they go, and then the doctor's like, hey, you know how we were watching this video earlier? And Rose was like, yeah, why didn't we watch to the end to know that we could have just done this earlier? So Rose was like, you know what? I don't think that man in the corner who we shouldn't name anymore even knows what's happening. And then the story's over. And that's New Earth, guys. It was so great.
Yeah. Yep.
So great.
If by great you mean needs to be grated, then yes.
Yeah, exactly. It was great, GRATE. Yeah. So that was fantastic. Oh, that always makes me feel unclean when I see that written. So I want to get the Late Crow's thoughts, and then I'll jump back to Harriet Skelly. The Late Crow thoughts on New York.
Ah, jeepers creepers. Well, it was bad. We've established that. Yeah. I think you've pointed out a lot of the main inconsistencies, the big ones, the horrible ones, just like,
yeah.
It's like, who knew that the miracle cure is just by dumping a whole pile of just like food colouring jelly into disinfecting myself, everything.
They were
and then medicine
pops. That's what we were calling them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Another thing that I found was weird is when Cassandra jumps into Rose's body, she's like, I need to look. And it's like, but you've been looking at Rose the entire time. Why do you need to look in the mirror? I hadn't even thought about that scene.
Yep.
That's so good.
I've been looking at you the whole time. Oh, I need to look again.
And Cassandra even said she's been dreaming about a revenge for since 20 years ago when they're on platform 1.
I don't know. It's just dumb. A lot of the story is just dumb. Just a lot of fan service where it didn't need to be, and
oh my god! Yeah, but for what fans?
Well,
you know,
I think the fans is in fans. Russell's pants.
Yeah, but he took them off halfway through the story. It's around about when he put the maple syrup on himself.
It's not even his. It's not even his orientation. It doesn't make any sense.
No, but Rose is the self-insert, bro. RTD, Rose Tyler Doctor.
That's why he just kept appearing on screen, rubbing things all over him.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, I'm Russell T Davies. Shh. And because he's like, the public will react negatively to me having a gay doctor. And I was like, dude, I reacted negatively to him just being sexualized anyway. Yeah. Like, that's the one thing I don't like about like 8's movie. Because I love Eric Roberts to be.
But the thing is that the doctor being gay would have been fine if you just have, his Time Lord wife show up as a man.
yeah, right. But he was like, this is how I fix it. I make Jack immortal, and he's the gay doctor. And I'm like, sweet, okay.
I mean, that works too as well. But
cool.
It's still
I'm not really against it, but Yeah. I was like, hey, how about you just take sexualization out of the show aimed at families at tea time? Just take it and go. Take it and go. All right?
Take it.
Well, please do.
You're not.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't really say much more about the story because I don't like thinking about it. I don't like devoting brain power to the story. So I'll let you move on to Harriet Skelly.
I feel you.
So Harriet Skelly. So what is this? What is your thoughts on this Golden Globe worthy story?
Oh my god! Did it really win a Golden Globe?
No,
Thank God.
Not even close.
Did it win any awards at all? Please tell me it didn't.
No, the Doctor Who didn't win BAFTAs for ages, man.
God. So, yeah, there was a lot of terrible acting. There was a lot of terrible stage direction. There was a lot of terrible choices in acting in general. There was a lot of Russell not knowing what he was doing with the story at all.
Yeah,
like why was Cassandra there at all? What was the point of this other than fancy?
Yeah, it could have just been an outbreak, right?
Like she didn't even really go through a proper character arc. Like she
did. She became Chip and then died.
Yeah, but like it wasn't.
Remember, Chip was so integral, bro. Do you remember that scene? He Indiana Jones'd across the ravine and shotgunned a million people.
Yeah, he was.
It's I'll never forget Chip. All right, here's the thumbnail for this week, by the way.
Oh Lord.
So yeah, her character was not necessary unless she was going to get a proper arc, and they tried to shoehorn one in, but it didn't make any sense because you're only doing 40 minutes, and you're trying to build all these other characters as well, and then you don't even bother to actually talk about the one that you were here to see. What was the point of saying that he needed to go to Ward 26 to see the face of Bo if the face of Bo just shoved him off at the end? You know, what was the point of that? It's just Captain Jack being like, you know what, I'm just gonna mess with the Doctor a bit more. This is what you get for leaving me behind, you bastard.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just I can't even go with the story, but that's not even the worst of it. It's really not even the worst of it. The medicine thing.
Oh man,
I can't unsee it. You know, just the picking up of all these jelly packs that the jelly pop freezer pop things that he's got that are filled with water and coloring liquid. It's just so obviously that as well. It's not. You're not even trying to make it look like it's real science. Yeah, it just looks like neon fluid you've got there. That's it.
Yeah, because if you've ever had plasma light pumped into you, I can tell you right now, it doesn't look like water with food coloring in it.
Like barely,
it is thick.
Barely any medicine will look like water with coloring fluid in it. Barely any of them. And most of the time, IVs wouldn't be the best method for getting things into people, especially someone who's literally turning to stone. What? So the whole thing about the medical stuff that's going on there doesn't make any sense. But the worst thing is the whole putting all of the medicines into literally a dish that is meant to kill bacteria and germs, right? And then the Doctor getting sprayed with this concoction that he's made, and apparently the ability to cure all these diseases that they have that are terminal and generally uncurable by the normal human standard. And he's made a concoction that can be apparently transmitted via touch as well. That makes even less sense than what just happened. Why is a cure transmittable at all? And how did it come from what he did? Because that's not how medicine works at all.
No, see, I can help Russell with this one. The Doctor didn't know one thing about medicine. He knew a thing or two.
He knew nothing about medicine at this point. Dr. James McCrimmon knows nothing about this. For real. Yeah, because
exactly.
It's not reasonable. Like, if they'd had a lot more time to work on this, the Doctor could have, I'm imagining a way better story here. Let me just go on a tangent and say that the third Doctor was in this. And
oh man.
And he's got 4 episodes to like spend 2 of those episodes working on the perfect cure for all of this outbreak. And then the final moments, Joe Grant steps in and spills some medicine into a petri dish and finds out the answer. Like that's the sort of story that this should have been. But no, it was not, and it was horrible. The only thing that it has going for it is the prosthetics that they actually used when they weren't trying to CG in things, because the cat prosthetic is actually fantastic. It actually is. And I'm really sad that they didn't just, continue to use it properly. And also all the boils and all the other stuff on them, they were fantastic. And it must have given a lot of prosthetic artists in the London region. Oh, sorry, the Wales Cardiff region. Must have given a lot of prosthetic artists a lot of work. And I'm really happy about that. But it shouldn't have given CGI artists any work. It really shouldn't have. There you go. That's my take on New Earth.
Yeah, it's frustrating because any audience member with like half a functioning brain, even a child, will be like, "That's not how medicine works." Because like kids know what medicine is, they hate the taste of it. They know what medicine looks like. They know what's it called, viscosity of it, and so I'm just like, no. Yeah. No, you can't sell this, even if it's meant to be for children, which you've ruined, by the way, by over-sexualizing Rose and the Doctor in their first episode together.
Exactly. The thing is that, like, this would only fly for like, the tiniest of children. Like, someone who had never, like, had to drink medicine before, who had never had to go to hospital, and could barely understand the words that were being spoken. And they would not appreciate the sexuality that you've added to this. They wouldn't appreciate it whatsoever. So there was... You've really conflicted with your demographics here, Russell.
Yeah. There's nothing for anybody in the story.
It really is.
And it's really, 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 really frustratingly apparent. And I don't like that it is at all. One of my big issues here is the first 7 Doctors. Actually, let's be honest, the first 8 Doctors, because they're not written by Russell T Davies. And like 8 in Big Finish up. Molto bene. Yeah. Could give 10 a little bit of love there, one sentence. And okay, they would be all like, hey, we need to do this, and then we need to start applying it to people. It won't be the fastest way to do it, but it's the only way we can do it, because that's how it works, because it's real life.
Also, the thing about this even more so is if all these diseases had cures now, and the cats had synthesized these big bags of medicine, why did they still have them around? Why do they still have a bunch of play characters just sitting there? Why didn't they just...
How did that one guy learn how to talk is what I want to know. That's the one that annoyed me the most.
How did they talk? Yeah, how did they learn speech if they were alone forever? And, I mean, like, they try to, like, pan it off with, like, a pseudoscience conversation about a medical bill about, like, some passing knowledge. And the thing is that's already a written thing about the idea of like a cloud of consciousness that can pass through things into other things. Like there's like a study about monkeys, birds on 2 separate islands that learned a particular way of doing ever each other. But it's more just about maybe that people learn things in different ways. There's no way that proper English speech would translate. But at the same time, the TARDIS is there. So maybe he was trying to say something and the TARDIS was translating it for him. And that's why they could understand it.
So we're really grasping at straws to fix RTD here.
But that basically means that he was actually talking gibberish, but at least something that he could understand, that the TARDIS could translate for him. But it's...
Which is interesting, because there's languages that the TARDIS can't translate, like Jadun. Yeah. But it can translate random gibberish from this one guy. And so
even though it's on a field all the way over there outside the city.
Yeah. Exactly.
Outside the city of New York. So another thing that annoys me, is why are we still calling it New York? It's 5 billion years in the future. Like, that would be, like, no one's going to remember that, man. It's like how we had to rediscover things like, the Sumerian culture. Because history forgets them.
Well, the thing is that the thing about the Sumerians, though, is that we literally lost like their cities and their literal translation of things, language. But English itself will probably survive because we have it written down all over the place, especially our internet and books and tablets and all that other stuff. If our civilization survives to the point of this, then yeah, we probably will. But the thing is, it would have changed a whole lot, like particularly when it comes to slang.
English will not sound the same 100,000 years from now.
Our entire pronunciation of things would have changed. I mean, our language has already started to change with words like fleek and swag, and so it's unrealistic to imagine that they're not going to.
Well, then about English, it's killing itself.
Exactly.
How does a language do that? It's killing itself. Yeah. Well done.
Compared to something like a language like, say, an Asian language where they're very strict on a lot of their rules. The only rule,
like how Mandarin hasn't changed in 200 years.
So the only sort of
that's crazy.
The only sort of changes that you would expect for them to have occur at some point is maybe that the meanings of certain words will have changed, but they'll still use exactly the same word and exactly the same pronunciation. But even then, that's still a change. You have someone from China, from Marco Polo's time, come into 2 billion year old Chinese empire, and they might have they might say the same words but have different meanings for them, which it's still a change. And so it's fair to say that there would be a new New York, but it's weird that they would bother calling it that when they could just call it something else.
Especially 500 billion years from now.
There wouldn't be any real nostalgia for it, unless of course, like, the string of New Yorks had been become like a cultural thing where basically every time, I'd say what probably could have happened in this,
the replacement McDonald's, so the Golden Arches. No,
I'm thinking like because they had to, say, over a couple of years they had to quickly build a couple of colonies in a quick succession, and each one of them called themselves New York. They landed on a planet. There was a natural disaster that destroyed their New York. Then they went and rebuilt it and recalled it New York, and then it just went on like that ad infinitum. That makes a lot more sense. And then they were like, okay, because we're going to do this, we'll just keep calling our cities New York, even though it makes no sense to do that.
Yeah, because I don't see, especially since we've gone so far out, I don't see the cultures of Earth having any sway 5 billion years from now.
Exactly.
Because culture would have evolved in such a fashion that something that long ago is superfluous. It's probably not even everyday knowledge anymore.
Exactly. So, but that's the sort of thing. It's like we don't know why, not for sure, why grey and grey have the same spelling, two different spellings, with an E and an A. But we still use both of them correctly, so it's probably the same sort of deal as they thought, hey, New York is a thing that we do, so let's just keep doing it. So that also kind of
for 5 billion years.
Yeah, for 5 billion years, we just keep renaming it New York, even though we have no idea what New York even looked like.
That's okay. This is another thing I preferred about Classic Who, is in Classic Who, future planets and civilizations of humanity had future sounding names.
Oh yeah.
I know that's kind of seems a bit tacky, Planet Zogalos or something, but at least you can see there's a progression in the cultural zeitgeist of humanity as a whole, especially since we separate, right?
Yeah.
So we would have gone separate, and there would have been a separate cultural evolution for every single migrant species of humanity. Yeah. Genus rather. So the Doctor even talks about it, how there's proto-humans and classic humans and all this other stuff. I'm there's so many different cultures out there. The Doctor on his travels just happened to meet the Face of Bo on a planet that has something called it's called New Earth, and it's called New York.
Well, admittedly, the thing that he does give a relatively okay reason as to why this sort of happened, is that when the Earth burns finally in the first time they travel, which is God, don't watch it. Anyway, the first thing that they see is the Earth burn, and then 20 years later, that's the point of this, is that once Earth burns, humans were all like, oh, we've actually got a nostalgia for that place.
Yeah. This is where we came from.
Yeah, which is kind of fair at the same time, especially if the message goes out on all bands, you know, original birthplace of humans is dead now. Anyone who even partially identified as a human would have been like, oh, I didn't know about that. Oh crap.
Yeah, and that's where the nostalgia comes in.
Crap, because I didn't even care.
So then we've just closed the window a bit here. Okay, so we've now got 20 years to work with for this entire civilization. So in 20 years, the cat people lost their civilization and humanity took over and rebranded this planet New Earth.
Yeah, pretty much.
In 20 years. Yeah. And in 20 years, they created the cure to...
20 years. They
created the cure to everything because the cat people are super advanced scientists.
Absolutely.
So... I feel like I'm going to blue screen and I'm a living human being who shouldn't be capable of doing that.
Driver issue in the brain.
Right? I'm trying to fix an issue with an issue and it's corrupting me as a person. If I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, I had a dream, Padme, I'll know why I start thinking like that. I'll start thinking like that because of this episode. Yeah.
It's be like randomguy.exe has stopped working, click to
yeah. And instead of a sad face, it's just Vader's face. And that's what's happened. I was like, my wife's just like, shut up, I'm trying to sleep. No.
Alright, so
okay, so there's
into an actually better sci-fi series, so we need to move on.
Just before we do, I've got one final little thing to pick out of here.
Okay.
The NNYPD. Please punch me in the face. Just punch me in the face so hard I ate Doctor. That's what I want to happen. I want to be hit. I just want to be punched so hard in the face I ate Doctor. And that's it. I've never even heard of Doctor Who
and you'll watch it again, and then you'll be sad again. Don't do it.
Yeah. But no, it seems in your anger you watched it. No. The NNYPD would not be a thing, alright? Nostalgia for Earth, I can understand. Nostalgia for the NYPD? Surely Earth has changed by then. We know from classic Who that future colonies have a different type of judicial system in which the master was a judge of.
Yeah. Although this has become like a full-on, human empire central place now because of in 20 years apparently.
But the police would have changed.
Yeah, the police would have changed. The thing is that there still could be called a police department, PD, but the thing is that that's only an American thing as well, to call your police department a PD and then like have precincts and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time it is technically an American colony, New York. But even then that doesn't really make sense that the whole city of a planet of the entire Earth Empire would be American. That doesn't make sense at all.
No, but the thing that annoys me here is in 5 billion years, none of our cultures will exist. So why is there an NYPD?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the nostalgia,
the doctor mentioned, hey, does that mean that people researched it and were like, hey, do you know on New York they had a thing called an NYPD? It's like, yeah, but our judicial system doesn't work like that anymore, so we're still going to call it that. And then Russell T Davies walks into the meeting. He's like, yes, absolutely. And then like he started like shooting like TARDIS like miniatures out of his tear ducts, and he just started rapidly firing at all of them, and so they obeyed every single thing he said without question. And then he span around and he peeled off his face, and underneath his face was another Russell T Davies face. He's like, I'm Russell T Davies. And then and that was the end of that episode. So what a wonderful episode. Okay, the episode was a Z out of 10.
Whereas, as the doctor said, if I had to base it on a 1 to 10 scale, I'd give it an F. I
absolutely love the Eighth Doctor. And okay, so we continue our adventures with Rose and James McCrimmon into our next story. Harriet Skelly. Oh my god, man, we've been talking about that stupid episode for 50 minutes.
I feel it.
So
I can feel it
we
in the back of
we
my
need
throat.
to we need to get there. So Tooth and Claw.
Okay, so this is bad. Cool, we're done. Let's move.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for part A this week.
It's really bad. I don't want to do it. Can I just not?
No, but I really want to learn how Naruto and the Last Airbender ended up in Scotland. I need to know that. I've got a missing spot in my Hooniverse knowledge, and that's it. Okay, guys. Since Harriet Skelly's blue screen will take over, he turns old and bitter and gets a werewolf friend.
Okay,
they team up.
Let me get there. So the prequel shows a meteor hitting Earth and a I don't know what he was supposed to be. And
he looked like Nostradamus, by the way.
Nostradamus, bearded man sort of deal. He was there and he ran away from a big scary werewolf. And that's the prequel.
Yep.
And you know it's a werewolf because it's literally the same CG they use in Van Helsing, and it's terrible. But anyway, so
I like that movie knew it looked terrible, but it embraced
They embraced the badness, and that's the only way to do it. But the point I'm trying to make here is that that again, even not including the fact that there was a next time on Doctor Who that they gave it all away, there was a literal trailer for the episode that gave it all away. Why even bother making the episode if you're just going to tell everyone that what's happening in it? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I really don't like that about New Who. I hate the next time trailers.
But the
Remember that time the whole Earth knew that John Sim was back
Exactly.
before we should have? That was great.
Anyway, so we started the thing off. There's some monks show up at a Scottish place. Not sure.
I want to know more about these monks.
They're apparently just Christian monks that have become more worshipping of the werewolf for some reason. I don't think that anybody really put too much thought into it, and I don't want to.
Yeah, it's like it's in Psalm somewhere. It said, "And then God giveth us the werewolfeth." I remember reading it there somewhere.
Yeah, and then
it's my King Russell T Davies version of the text.
And then James was like, "And I learned the kung fu." No, what he said is, "I know kung fu."
Show me. Is what the Scottish man says, and then these European monks start doing kung fu, an art form that this part of the world doesn't know at all, because the Shaolin don't become public knowledge until the 20th century.
So,
and even then, they were still shrouded in to this day. A lot of it is shrouded in mystery because they keep themselves very, very quiet. Yeah. So. This makes no sense to me. Where did they get the orange jumpsuits from? Where did they get that color of orange as well?
Balls. That's where they got them from.
Dude, that color of orange is impossible in the 19th century because that is an artificial pigment.
That is an artificial pigment, yes. So yeah, that happened, and we all checked out of the show at that point. But I had to continue watching, obviously, because I have to do this.
I'm so sorry.
So they take over this manor, capture all of the servants and all that stuff, and tell the head of the house basically, we're gonna kill your wife if you don't commit treason and help us assassinate the queen. And he's just like, why would I do that? This is the Victorian era, so I am extremely on board with the monarchy, and would actually legitimately kill myself before I let that happen. It's your wife. All right, sweet, cool. Anyway, that's just what's happening in the meanwhile. Basically, just the before times. Before we get into the real, before we get into the real badness of this.
Remember the boat times? Wasn't really a boat. It wasn't really a time, was it, Greg? It's more of an exposure.
So that happens, and then we get the scene where they pull this box down to where they've got the prisoners held with the wife and the servants and stuff, and for some reason the head monk shows like he's regretting it in some way, even though he really doesn't later on in the story. He's like, God forgive me, and it's like, what? Isn't this your God at this point? I don't understand.
You stopped believing in Jehovah because you literally prayed to this werewolf.
Worship this thing, and then they take off the cover of it, which was not necessary in the first place. Really, I don't think they really knew what they were doing with this. They took it off, and then the lady screams, and there's the cut. But the thing is, like, there's just a person in there. It's not full moon. So what was scary about that?
It was scary because Russell said, and then she screams, and then Russell, and then in the read through,
scar lenses on. No,
he's got them scaredy eyes, and then in the read through when all the actors were rehearsing their lines for the first time, Russell T Davies walked in covered in maple syrup, and she screaned at that image, and they recorded that scream.
Russell T Davies more than I like this podcast. Anyway, so we get that. We cut to the Rose and Dr. James McCrimmon getting out of the TARDIS, and the Doctor has mixed up his coordinates again. So, like, the first time since 8, I guess, really, because 9 was pretty on point.
9 was pretty on point. But he was 12 months wrong.
Oh, yeah, at one point.
That one episode.
Yeah, but he's never been, like, 100 years wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Because in the 10th anniversary, the Doctor learned how to fly it.
Yeah. But, even then, even the 8th Doctor says flying the TARDIS is an art form, so...
Yeah, because he keeps forgetting stuff. Thanks to 8.
And the fact you're supposed to have 6 pilots, not 1.
Yeah. That's actually a good explanation as to why that he's not particularly good at piloting it. That's way better than he left the handbrake on. Anyway, moving on.
Every TARDIS does that, and the time ring does it. Shut up, River.
Anyway. We're
not even on your season. Get out of here. You and Rose, just go. Take it and go.
Anyway. They get out. Here's Queen Victoria. They meet Queen Victoria. She seems pretty nice, even though completely inaccurate. The Dr. James McCrimmon and Rose make a bet that they can get her to say the thing that she's known for, the I am not amused.
I absolutely hate this bet with all of my heart.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, considering the Doctor would know whether or not she's actually legitimately going to say that. And what does human currency mean to him exactly? Diddly squat. So yeah. So they get to Torchwood Manor. Yes, it's called that, and everyone was amused. Anyway.
You used that more tactfully than this episode. Anyway, well done.
So they got there, and immediately they realize that things aren't really quite what they seem. No servant actually comes out properly. The whole thing doesn't work properly, especially if you've seen if you've seen any of the things about those periods. It just doesn't feel right. I'm particularly thinking of one British production that's way better, and we should have just been watching that, honestly.
Next week we're doing Downton Discussion. It's going to be great. Yeah, I
think that would actually be pretty sick. We should do that. Anyway, let's continue to digress because I can't get through this. They do some talking and blah blah blah. We find out about the telescope. That's not really a good telescope at all, and the Doctor immediately says so in good proper Doctor fashion, actually. But then for some reason becomes less of the Doctor all of a sudden. Again, I don't know. He just keeps slipping in and out of being the Doctor. I don't understand what's going on. He doesn't care about Rose again in the story, which is again fantastic, and I don't know why Russell even bothered to keep her around at this point. When she gets captured with finding a servant girl, and then the doctor just sits down to have some food without her, and it's like, cool. He doesn't care. Turns out that the stories are all true. Werewolves, blah blah blah, and they find out that the monks are crazy, and the head of the house, the owner of the house, tells them. Well, basically fills them all in about what's going on, that all the servants were captured and blah, blah, blah. The doctor goes to help him break his wife and Rose out of the place with the things, and just as the guy starts to turn into a wolf in a terrible effect. Terrible effect. Yeah. So...
They should have treated the wolf like Alien, where
we just didn't see it
and it was prosthetic. If they had done that, it would have A, saved money, and B, been scary.
I will get onto the wolf very shortly. Yeah, because that's
it's a multi-wave Lincolnthorpe.
Please don't. Anyway,
I love how silent the late crow is. He's just mulling it over in his mind.
Okay,
yes.
so yes. So they run away from it, of course, as they do in normal Doctor Who fashion. They manage to find themselves in a safe place, which is a room lined with mistletoe. Is it mistletoe or holly? I can't remember. Same thing, really.
You know what? I don't think even Holly remembers,
No
but
one
it's probably mistletoe.
Some of them. Anyway, so soaked in that stuff. And apparently, because the monks trained the werewolf to not like it. Okay, we'll get there. They sit there and they try to figure out what's going on, and I'm sure that the doctor really should have figured it out by now, considering. But Russell just didn't know what to do with the time that he had, basically, even though he's only got 40 minutes. So. There's just nothing really going on for a little bit, and then they find out that he figures out that Victoria's got the diamond on her. That is a perfect reflector for moonlight. Still doesn't make any sense.
No, it does, because it's because the maple syrup monster told him.
Exactly, with the leaves on his nipples. Anyway. So they run. There's really not sure why they needed this character in their moment where he saves them by shooting the thing again, and then he dies, and then again they do the same exact thing, and it's the head of the house that dies again. So what was the point of the first one going on?
Do you know what annoys me about the first one? Is while he's dying, Rose keeps the door open, so they saved no time whatsoever.
No, not at all. They could have literally he could have just literally just run and gone in the door as well. Yeah. So anyway, they run to the telescope. The doctor manages to just in time put the telescope in the right location so that it's pointing directly at the moon, and turns it on so that all the moon power comes through. And then he throws the diamond in the beam, and the diamond magically points the light in the right place, and it zaps the wolf into deadness. And then the doctor gets knighted and banished the same day, like they say later. Yeah. And then the Torchwood and Suit is born, and that's the story.
Well, all right. Well, we'll catch you guys next week.
I think I might. Again, I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, exactly. So Harriet Skelly, the living skeleton, is now the undead living skeleton. It's pretty great. The Late Crow.
Yes.
I honestly don't know how much blood you can get out of the stone, considering stones don't contain blood.
Yeah. That silence that I was doing throughout the entire thing, those are my thoughts on the story.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Just silence. Like Simon and
Garfunkel
that. Playing in the background. So.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And that's me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh my god. Okay, Harriet
I'll
Skelly.
let you go
This
first.
incredible.
Cover.
Okay, all right. Okay, I wholeheartedly hate this story for a few reasons. One, Victoria was well known, even though she was the head of the church, she was very well known for not being devout.
Yeah, to the point of creating
That was-
a crystal palace.
Yeah. She literally pushed science and told the church to stop telling science off.
Yeah.
And science was like, oh, we're really sorry, church. It's just like, it's all good, bro. And one day, if we prove that, there's a God particle, all good. And so the church's like, okay, cool, thanks, my bro. And they all became friends, and she really, really pushed for the industry to move on. So thanks to her husband, Albert, her late husband, at the time of the story, pushed for science, and she was a huge proponent in moving humanity forward in a technological space.
Yeah.
Why would she hate the Doctor so vehemently?
I've got nothing.
Yeah, neither do I. It was just so Russell could have a cool reason that Torchwood exists. Yeah. And by cool, I mean like when a person who's middle-aged thinks they're cool to their kids. You're not cool to your kids, my bro. You're not. All right, they'll never think you're that because like it's just human nature, bro. They're not gonna think you're cool because you're old.
Well, I mean, they could
So
if you
then-
were actually cool, but you're not.
Yeah, if you're actually cool, like, but they're gonna pretend they don't think you're cool, even though they think you are.
Exactly.
My parents are cool. You're not, Russell T Davies. All right, okay. So that was silly
Yes.
because it goes against her nature. Now, the thing that I did like about this story, this is the one positive,
Oh, yeah.
is that classic Who was referenced,
Yes.
and the woman playing Queen Victoria was supposed to be the companion for the first Doctor. The second Doctor. In the story called The Faceless Ones. She is in The Faceless Ones for a good bit. She's also she also kisses James McCrimmon. She kisses Jamie in that story in The Faceless Ones. It's the story we lose Ben and Polly.
Yeah.
Polly and Ben get replaced by those evil faces. So it's her. So I thought that was cool. They mentioned James in the same story. The actress who was in a story with James McCrimmon was brought back to play a lead character. That was fantastic. And I literally hated everything else about the story because it was dumb. The orange, like, Shaolin look, that's too bright of an orange. The Shaolin uniform, well, I suppose it's more of a garb. Their garb. It is a lot darker than
It's
that.
not orange at all.
Yeah, it's definitely like close to an orange, but it's more of a dark yellow.
Yeah, that was more of a prison orange.
Yeah, exactly. It was a prison orange. The orange is clearly an artificial pigment, quite clearly, with like just the basic knowledge of how human fashion's gone throughout the centuries. It's the 19th century, so I don't know where this came from. Who would have made this garb? The monks wouldn't have made the garb. So who made the garb for them? The moon people. So the moon people, sorry, the multi-wave lichen form.
No.
Right?
No.
All right. Okay, sorry. The were maple monster. Russell T Davies is it's wow. So the another thing that annoys me is the huntsman for them, the groundskeeper.
Yeah.
He grew up in Europe, and Europe know a lot. Like, even though they treated werewolves as like fake, the story made them real strangely.
Yeah.
He would know that they're hard to put down because he grew up in 19th century. Well, actually, maybe it's too long. And definitely 19th century Europe. Yeah. So he would know that they're like mythical in strength.
Yeah. That the point.
So
of
him
like,
saying,
one of the mythical things is that they can only be killed by a silver bullet.
Yeah.
And they were using lead, which is completely unlike silver. In fact.
Yeah. So him standing there and getting killed was just for them to emulate Alien. They actually emulated Alien in that scene, which was great. And I was like, but Alien's so much better. And if they had treated the multi-wave lichen form,
it's a werewolf. Don't call it that.
So if they had treated the werewolf, which here's the thing that annoys me is we know werewolves are a thing in the Whoniverse.
Yeah, I think this is meant to be one of those as well. That's kind of where it's going with the partial telepathy.
And the Doctor was able to get Mags, the last werewolf we met on screen, to actually learn to control it.
Yeah.
So it's funny that like 10 didn't even try. He was like, let's kill it now. And I was like, but you know how to control werewolves. You literally fought you got a werewolf to control itself and then killed 3 gods. The very next story. The same story. In the same story, you killed 3 gods when you trained a werewolf to not give in to its darker self.
Yeah.
So this was really, really stupid. Like what?
Yeah.
And so I was really frustrated. When the groundskeeper, like, he would know it's silver that kills them. He grew up in 19th century Europe.
Yeah.
His parents would have been like, oh, and don't you forget about that there werewolf, only killed by silver.
Especially considering that's the story of the region, is the werewolf.
Yeah, right?
Like, even if he doesn't believe for a moment that is true, as soon as he's confronted with the fact that it is true, he'd probably be like, oh, what do those stories say about it? Silver, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And especially considering this is during the time where, like, guns weren't even, like, that widely used. Like, he wouldn't have necessarily had more faith in guns than he would have in just, someone who sounds like they know what they're talking about, at least.
Yeah. Also, the house was littered in swords, and if this family has been preparing to fight the werewolf for hundreds of years,
they would have silver
those swords are probably silver.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, that's annoying.
Oh my God, that would have been a way better ending to this. It's the Dr. Sword with a silver sword.
Yeah, because we know he can. A few doctors have fought using swords, and it would have been like, great.
Previous
episodes.
God damn it.
Yeah. Another thing I hate is the doctor throws the diamond across the floor into the right spot. Why, if they've designed this room to kill the werewolf, why is there not a contraption in the middle to seat the stone?
Why was it like that at all? Why did the diamond need to be there? Why was the diamond important? No reason. It was a reflective surface. So what you're telling me is you could have just had a mirror on the floor, like all those prisms you got in the thing. So
why did the boy's body disintegrate?
Yeah, he was not full werewolf. He was taken over by it.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. And also that whole, like, a piece of wood, a splinter hit Queen Vic, and they're like, oh, it's going to turn into a werewolf. Yeah. Why?
She's a werewolf now. All the monarchy. They're all.
Yeah, I don't see that as at all canon whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. That doesn't make a single
because
sense.
Imagine, because you know how it's like Seven met Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah.
Who's a descendant of Vic.
So the thing that they say at the end is like about how it takes us. It was like it could have just been a single bit of the werewolf that got in her, and it would take several.
How?
It would take several thousand years for it to like propagate. And then he tries to make the joke by saying that it could have by the year 2000 have taken effect properly and turned them into werewolves. The thing is that you meet later queens and monarchs that aren't any more werewolf than the previous ones. So
also roses. I don't know, but you know how roses they live a very private life. Yeah. Okay, so this is for me Russell being out of touch with society.
Yeah.
As of Queen Diana, their life became the literal opposite of private.
Exactly.
Princess Diana changed the face of the monarchy.
Yeah.
So Rose saying that line shows that Russell probably hasn't watched the news since the early 90s. I was like, that line is so stupid.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this was really aggravating.
Why did no one correct him?
Yeah. I'm like, hey, you know how Princess Diana and her sons are real public facing? Yeah.
To the point where some of them are in the military
that doesn't work.
And,
Yeah.
Like, how would that work as well, if they've got...
Yeah.
If the werewolves going into the military.
Nah. Well, I can explain it. I can help my boy Russell here. I can help Maple Syrup Man. When he went to Afghanistan, bro, right? When he turned into a werewolf, right? Just bear with me here. It literally never happened because it's not true. It's not true whatsoever. And it was just some of the worst writing to ever be in a show that I love with all of my soul. So
I feel you.
yeah, just wow. This is like series 1 had fighting monsters, but at least it had at least it didn't have these 2 episodes.
Yeah, pretty much.
So so is
Yes, so I have some things to say about it.
yeah.
So yeah, there's some bad choices. Some bad choices. Shaolin monks. What else? Making it allergic to holly. Like, there's this thing that that werewolves are by standard generally allergic to. What's it called? It's called something. I can't remember off the top of my head actually. Wolfsbane. That's the one.
Yeah.
It's you could have just called it. We could have just had Wolfsbane instead of
holly, bro.
Instead of holly. What was the point of that? You just forget the name of the thing that they're allergic to and was like, holly, mistletoe, easy.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. There's no reason for that. This is you're ruining it. You're ruining Doctor Who and werewolves at the same time before Twilight even got involved.
I saw that coming. It was before Twilight even got involved.
It's so weird. There was
so
no
bad.
reason for the addition of that. The weird using the moon as a laser beam and being all you're 70% water, you can drown. What? That doesn't. No.
Yeah, that's not the reason we drown.
Our
That
lungs
isn't the
fill
reason
up
we
with
drown.
water. We can't get oxygen.
Yeah.
If the werewolf needed constant moonlight to survive, then yes, sure, you could drown it with filling its organ that uses it to maximum capacity so that it can't process it. Sure. But as we saw, it was consistently not in direct moonlight. So that's not its function at all. No. There was no reason in trying to science it. It was no direct reason to do it other than the fact that there's no other science in this show at the moment that he tried to shoehorn it in. Doctor Who, as much as it was a science fiction, you didn't see Seven trying to really explain why there were demons and magic in the world. He didn't have.
He was just they just exist.
This is just a thing that happens. We accept it, So why did 10 need to? Why did the need to be explained at all? Especially if you're going for the alien vibe, which you completely ruined by showing the monster at all, and
and by having magical flipping monks,
and trying to science away the werewolf. The thing about the alien as well was that it was a mystery. No one tried to explain its real, actual thought patterns and features. They were just it's got acid blood and it's a predator. That's all you need to know. And that would have been fine for the wolf as well. It's a werewolf, from the stories. So moon, wolfsbane, silver, cool, easy. And then you don't even have to worry about trying to explain this weird telescope thing, the monks that don't have really any purpose as well, and you've got your killing weapon in the house. You just say, oh yeah, his father was totally on board with believing in this stuff, so he wolfsbaned all of his wooden rooms. He put up silver swords in every single place he could, and that's it. Got rid of all of the sunroofs as well, so the moonlight couldn't get in.
And then the husband, the head of the house, still could have gone out because he could have impaled the beast and been killed in the same blow.
Or
a very, very, very popular and storytelling trope.
Or even better, what could have been is him getting hurt in the fight, and then after in the post credit sort of deal, you see him be alive but with the bite mark in him, and the doctor not realize, and then boom, you've got yourself a later date where you can say there's more werewolves again. Instead of trying to say that.
I love how you use good storytelling to tell a good story.
Instead of trying to just say that the queen's werewolves.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. If they were still as private now as they were back then that would have worked, but they are not and have not been since Princess Diana.
Yeah.
He was around for the late 80s and the 90s,
I
right?
hope so. Well, I guess.
Did Russell just... Is he like...
Maybe he was-
No, Russell's like Mr. Bean. He fell out of the sky, right? But instead of a light beam, it was a slime of maple syrup.
God.
It was a maple syrup cloud, and the cloud, the maple syrup drops formed a person, and his first words were, Russell T. Davis!
Correct.
And that's how he was born.
Correct.
That's how he was born. So before we wrap up, well, part A's drained me, man.
It really has.
We've got 3 stories in part B,
Well, at least they're good.
and the
ones.
late they are really good, and the late Crow didn't get to listen to those, and so he has to have this bad taste in his soul for the remainder of this, like the future. I'm so sorry, the late Crow.
I am going to go and have to watch something that's good to remove this taste in my mouth right now.
Yeah, I absolutely suggest it.
Oh dear.
Hey, guys, actually, if you are listening, I'm going to plug Big Finish. I know we do it all the time, but if you want an arc where you're like, I really want there to be a will they, won't they, like you did with Ten and Rose, listen to the 8th Doctor's initial run with Charlie.
Oh yeah.
And then that's just better storytelling.
Yeah.
And that came out before New Who.
Significantly.
It's a real thing that happened.
Yeah, Big Finish was
He fights...
Big Finish improving New Who before New Who existed.
Yeah, exactly, right? They're like, hey, here's all this material you guys could adapt. And they're like, we're going to adapt Jubilee and nothing else.
Well, I wanted to say that
And I'm like,
before.
oh.
I'm going to say in part B. I wanted to say in part B before we left. That this one of the stories in part B also has a werewolf theme. We don't plan this, by the way. Sort of deal going on. The Beast of blah blah blah.
Orlok.
That's the one. The Beast of Orlok, which kind of has a very similar feel in the beginning to even stating that a tree fell in a way of something. So I guess they kind of tried to pull from that. They didn't do a good job though. It is not good.
It isn't. That is true. So yeah, guys. Instead of watching series 1 and 2, listen to Big Finish and then be all like, "Oh, that's right, New Who exists," and start with series 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just start with series 3 because like Murray had good music that didn't extremely block your ability to hear what anybody's saying in a given scene, especially when like his like big, and I'm gonna say score with quotation marks here, when those started playing, can you hear a single word anyone's saying? I'm like, oh my god, I have to watch that scene with subtitles, so I do.
Admittedly, that's
It's
not
the
his fault.
editor's
It's the
fault,
sound
though.
director.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So
Dun, 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 dun. All right, guys. Well, we'll catch you next week. Late Crow.
Yes.
Since we've been literally harming you, it's not been intentional. But I think next week we get school reunion.
we do.
Yay.
So I mean, you know, there might be something good there.
Sarah
And then they
Jane
ruin the
Smith.
Cybermen the next week after.
Ooh.
I'm really looking forward to ruining the Cybermen.
Sarah Jane Smith.
But Sarah Jane, yeah, woo!
Yay.
Hell yeah. And then they ruined a character.
Yeah. Remember when she was the Doctor's ex-girlfriend, though? Do you remember that? I remember that in Classic Who. It was in that episode with the maple syrup monster.
Maple syrup monster.
Yeah, the maple syrup monster is the episode where she was like, I love you, Doctor, even though that's not a relationship. And he's like, I always thought we were more brother-sister. Or when I was the 3rd Doctor, I was more your dad. And she's like, yeah, that is the relationship we had. But Russell T. Davies and the maple monster, who may or may not be the same person, they told me differently. And that's the story. So, guys, we're going to catch you next week where hopefully I actually care. All right. Catch you all then. Thank you very much for joining us, Lake
You're
Crow.
welcome.